Hey everybody, Courtney here with Smitty's Flybox. Just going to go over our indicator beetle pattern for the month of June in your beginner box. I've got a Daiichi dry fly hook and a size 10 here. You'll get two sizes of hooks in the box. You get your size 10 and a size 16. I really like this size 10 as a dropper option when you're fishing a nymph underneath. So go ahead and cut your foam. This is your 3mm black foam. I like the foam to be wider than the hook gap, just by a little bit. The reason being is I find that if you cut it any thinner, the beetle will start to ride on its side or roll over. So this little, make it a little bit wider. It'll land proper. It won't turn over on you, and has a little bit more buoyancy with this 3mm foam as compared to a 2mm foam. So I'll just go ahead and compress that foam down with my thread, wrapping it on. It doesn't need to look pretty, I just want to compress the majority of that foam down. I'll stretch my foam over to kind of see where I'm at on the hook shank. I want this foam to be tied down into the bend just slightly, so I'll just walk my thread back a little bit. The reason is that I like that the butt end of the beetle there to kind of be sitting in the water, just kind of what it would really look like if a beetle was actually trapped on the river and floating down. So, and it kind of builds a nice little profile from underneath. So once I have that tied down, I'll go ahead and start with my body here. You'll get two types of body material in your box. You'll have peacock feathers for a more natural body with the peacock, and then here I'm just going to be using UV eye stub in brown, which I'll just coat the underbody with that and dub that on. When you're using this UV eye stub, it's a little coarse, so I do try to just use a little bit at a time. Just don't try to do it all at once, otherwise it starts to kind of roll off of your thread and jump off your hook. So I'll just sit here and go along and add a pinch and just advance my thread forward. And the reason I like this UV eye stub, it just creates a nice little sheen to it. I love that shiny look. And then I've had a lot of luck with this eye stub of multiple colors, not just UV brown, but lots of that eye stub coloring is really good on these beetles here. So it gives a nice buggy look and it fishes really well. So I'll just keep advancing my thread forward, bringing it up to just before the eye of the hook. Okay, so now we'll just go ahead and stretch our foam over the top, and we'll go ahead and secure our foam down. We want to make sure that foam's just straight on top of the hook. So just do a check underneath and just make sure it's squared right on top. Now you'll notice as I bring my thread around, I'm actually bringing my thread forward, creating a small gap in the foam. You see that from that top view. The reason I do that is this makes it a lot easier to tie in your legs and to make those legs create a V rather than having the legs get tied in and they squish together. So you'll kind of see what I mean as we tie those legs in. You've wanted to leave a gap before the eye as well, so you can have a place to whip finish and create a little thread bodied head there. I'm going to go ahead and tie in my indicator foam here. I've just cut two small strips of my pink and green 2mm foam, and they're not glued together or anything. I like this because when you pull down tight, you cinch it down, those pieces stand up, and it creates an indicator looking piece on top of that beetle. So if you're familiar with those little foam indicators that you might have seen around in different shops or whatever, they look just like that, and they ride nice and high in the water, easy to see and easy to spot. And we'll trim those here after we finish the fly. The other option you have for your indicator is the red McFlylon that you got in the box, so it kind of gives it more of a wing look. Both are good. I really like this indicator one. Just sticks out of the water nice and clean. So okay, and then next we're going to go ahead and we'll tie in our black crystal flash for our legs. And so just remember, on this pattern, it really is easier if you advance your thread forward on the foam, creating a small gap in the foam. So I'll go ahead and tie my first set in. I've just doubled over a strand of crystal flash, so I'll have 4 legs on the side facing me. I'll just position those right to the side. I'll just anchor those down with a few good wraps. And then we'll go ahead and do that on the opposite side. and trim your legs to size as you need, as you see fit. I kind of like to have short, stubby legs on these beetles. And then we'll go ahead and tie in on the far side. Same thing, I just doubled over a strand of crystal flash, and I'll anchor that right to the side of the foam. I want those positioned basically dead center with the foam, and then I can go ahead and trim these out. You can add as many legs as you want to. It doesn't have to be 4. You can kind of do whatever you want, get creative. We've given you rubber legs as well as another option for leg material. So I'll just go ahead and just kind of keep wrapping through that. You'll see as I kind of turn that fly to the top here, you can see how those legs really stick out really well. They create almost a V. I'm just going to reposition these a little bit. And that's kind of what you want. If you were just to compress that foam with one thread wrap in the same spot over and over again, those legs suck in really tight together and you lose your V that you'd usually get if you advance your thread forward on that foam. So creating that gap is really critical as far as that goes, especially if you use the rubber legs. That'll help in taming those legs and making sure they go where you want them to go. So that's pretty much it at this point. We'll go ahead and just lift the foam head up and we'll advance our thread just underneath that foam with a few turns of our thread there, creating a little head. And then we can go ahead and whip finish and trim our foam head down to size. If it's hanging out over the eye, you want to cut that down. I usually like to just be barely beyond the eye of the hook. This fly is awesome, guys. It's really underrated fly, I think, as far as it goes in summertime. Lots of beetles around. Not necessarily seeing them flying in the air, but they're crawling all over the bank, and it's one that I think trout, bass, and panfish look for when you have overhanging structure over the water you're fishing. So go ahead and try it out and let us know what you think, and remember to tag us in any photos that you share on Facebook or Instagram and give us a shout out. We appreciate it.